Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Good Eats with Lord Rick, sponsored by AngelOfThyNight Radio. And today I'm going to bring you a very special cooking episode. Now, I realize it's been a couple of years since I've hosted my cooking show, but we had a lot of requests, and they're like, Rick, you haven't done no cooking shows lately. And I'm like, I know, I've been slacking. It doesn't mean I'm not continuously cooking. I'm always cooking because I'm all about living a healthy lifestyle, eating healthy, good times, good laughs, family, friends, all the positive things in life. That's what I stand for. And so today I'm going to bring you guys a very healthy dinner, extremely healthy. It's not going to give you a heart attack. If you're diabetic, you can eat this meal. Some of you can. There may be some ingredients you can probably exclude. So when I do this alien lime kiln pork roast, keep in mind that you're more than welcome to tweak the recipe. You don't have to do it exactly as how I made it, but this should give you a foundation of what you need to work with and how you need to do it. And of course, you guys already know I'm a total slow cooker type of guy. I do a lot of barbecuing on my grill, I bake, I cook on the stove, but every now and then I like to put together a roast or chicken or London broil or sausage or a variety of different meats and slow cook them in the slow cooker. And the reason why you should put it in the slow cooker and the reason why you should do it is because when you make a nice marinade and it cooks all day long, let's say 8 to 10 hours, not only is the meat's going to be tender, because you don't want horse leather, you want tender meat. You want tender pork, you want tender steaks. It's going to be full of flavor. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you today how to make an alien lime kiln marinade. And you'll understand why we're calling it alien lime kiln. This is the kiln. These are the aliens. We'll just pretend they're the aliens. And we're going to put them in there. We're going to brown them a little bit. We're going to make a very flavorful marinade. And what I'm going to do later this evening when this is all done, I'm going to teach you how to make a glaze using this marinade that you can smother all over the roast. And then we're going to make a very special rice dish, and I'm going to teach you how to make some very awesome asparagus. Because people don't know how to cook asparagus right. That is a fact. A lot of people cook asparagus, it's got no flavor, they don't know how to cook it, they don't know how to season it. And everything that I make, it doesn't matter what it is. I could buy a couple jars of sauce, I'm going to doctor it up. I'm always going to doctor it up. So, grab your pipes, sit back, it's going to be a while. This show's going to be about a 2-hour program, I estimate. Sometimes my programs run a little longer because I like to shoot the shit with you guys. Because it's not like we live in the same town or the same city, per se. Some of my friends live all over the world, Australia, England, South America, Canada. I got friends from all over. About the closest we're ever going to get to meeting is probably something that unites us both, which is good food, good eats. You're listening to Angel of the Night Radio, Good Eats with Lord Rick, and we're live in the Silver State. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, okay? Now I got my chocolate cinnamon coffee this morning. You got to brew coffee. I got this pot for $3. This is like a $200 coffee pot. And it was never even used. And I do a lot of yard sale, and I go to a lot of estate sales. Because I can't see being overtaxed. I can't see paying full price for something like a $200 coffee pot when I can go to a yard sale and find it still in the box brand new, or an estate sale for $3 to $5. However, this meal that we're making is very cheap. Okay, what we have here, I'm going to show you. We have 4 pounds of pork roast. You know how much this cost me? About $5.50. So it's a very cheap meal. What gets expensive is when you have to turn around and you got to buy things in your kitchen like seasonings and garlic and soy sauce and all these extra things start to add up. So if you got them, this is a good way to utilize them. But we're going to start off with a little bit of olive oil. Now, you don't have to use olive oil, but it's a much more healthy oil. And it's good for you, and adds a lot of flavoring to your meat, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to sear the pork roast into a frying pan. Of course, you can sear it in anything you want. And we're going to turn this on medium. Now pay attention. Now I got 6 notches on my stove. We'll do about a 4. Okay? And we're going to take the pork roast out. This is very vital. You don't have to do this, but it kind of holds it together so that when it's slow cooking, it doesn't fall apart. Because that's the problem. When you start cooking in the slow cooker, everything's going to fall apart because it's going to be so tender. And we want to cook this 8 to 10 hours. Maybe that's a little extreme, but if I cook it 8 to 10 hours, I know for sure that it's going to be full of flavor. And what we're going to do is, see, later on, we're going to slice this up after it's done, and I'm going to put it on a lime rice. It's going to be a lime rice pilaf. So we're going to get a little creative today, because we're going to put the meat on the rice and have a nice healthy side of asparagus. And you guys know how I am. You guys know I like good eats. I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm an urban explorer. I do a lot of camp and fish and hike and off-road, and the outdoors is my second home. Rest assured, a couple days a week you can find me spending time out in the mountains here in Nevada or Northern California. I kind of live on the border of both, so I get to enjoy the mountains here in the best of both worlds. And so I like to eat good before I go out. I like to eat good when I come home. I go on a hike, and if I have something slow cooking and I come home, I got dinner, you know? Because sometimes I hike for 10 miles in the wilderness, climbing up cliffs and on granite ridges and in the woods looking for Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, whatever. The paranormal has always been a huge part of my life. I am who I am, and I'm a paranormal investigator, and I'm not ashamed to tell people that. Because a lot of people ask, well, what do you do? What do you do? Well, I'm a paranormal investigator. And I don't know when my last meal is going to be. I've had the last month, I've been driving on cliffs and ravines, and you go off these cliffs, you're dead. You're dead. I may not come home to eat a meal. So you always want to eat a good meal before you leave. You always want to eat a good meal when you come home. And you can consider that as a way to treat yourself to a hard day's work in the wilderness. So rest assured, this is going to be an awesome recipe. Again, you can get 1 giant pork roast. In this case, I have 2. There are 2 in here. There was 2 in the package for $5. And that's a pretty good deal, right? So we're going to take out the pork roast. And I'm not going to get too fancy with it, but we're going to sear it on both ends. So there's 2 of them in the frying pan, okay? We're going to take this out of the way because all it does is obstruct things. I've died and I've gone to the gates of heaven. But we want to gently sear this, okay? We're going to take out some pepper. You see I got some pepper here. I don't have it labeled. A lot of times the labels come off when I'm cooking. Just sprinkle a little pepper on top for now. We're going to do both sides like this. Take a little bit of salt. What I usually do, fuck the salt shaker. You know what I'm saying? Pour a little like this and go, like you're Japanese. What's on? What's off? What's on? What's off? But there you go. You have it. A little salt and pepper. Nothing extreme, because we're going to be making a marinade here. And what we're going to do is going to put everything into this bowl. We're also going to be smoking some dope. As you know, marijuana is legalized in Nevada. And even before it was legalized, I always smoked on my radio shows, always smoked on film. Because we want to keep things very friendly, very casual, Drink some, you want to sit here and you want to cook this in the morning, drink a couple shots. You don't want any shots, hit up your bong. I don't care what you do, but you only live once. And if you're going to cook, let's make it a little fun, right? Because, honestly, we're in here, we're slaving in the kitchen. We spend hours prepping this shit, and we spend minutes eating it. So, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to pull out my Chem Dog Bud. Like I said, I'm all about healthy living and healthy lifestyles. And if you want to have a good, healthy lifestyle, smoke up, toke up, eat well, fuck a lot, do what you got to do. But make sure the main thing is that you're happy. and treat yourself to this alien lime kiln pork roast. Because I'm telling you right now, it's something you can cook for your kids. And I'm not saying if you got your kids here to start pulling out the weed and the booze. But this is a great recipe for your kids to put stuff in the bowl, and you can decorate your little alien. I'm going to teach you how to decorate it too. I'll show you guys when it's finally done in the crock pot. But see, I have fresh Chem Dog buds. Okay, this is the good stuff, man. Look at these buds, man. I could kiss that. I just did kiss that. And so what we're going to do, we're going to load up the bong, because I'll tell you what, I need at least a hit from the bong before I get working on this, because you guys are going to be amazed at how many ingredients we're putting into this today. It's going to be really far out, because we've got about 15 things we're going to be putting into this marinade. This is not like your normal marinade you buy at the store with a little bit of barbecue sauce and maybe 2 other ingredients. This is a marinade that's going to have a little bit of everything in it with a little bit of zing. And we're going to be using fresh lime, but also lime juice. You guys know lime can be sour, but if you use it to marinate your meats, it'll infuse the flavor. I mean, it's just... We're going to turn this down to about a 2 now, but we're going to infuse it with flavor of the lime. It's not going to be sour or anything like that. You'll be able to taste it in the meat. You'll be able to taste it in the meat, but it's going to be very flavorful because you got all these little things offset it. And so, let me tell you what I have here. Apple cider vinegar, salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic salt, crushed red pepper, ginger, cornstarch, honey, garlic, olive oil, Worcester sauce, soy sauce, and brown sugar, along with fresh limes, which we'll pull out, and lime juice. Not everybody has these ingredients laying around at home. I had most of them, so I was able to put together this little recipe in this dish. So now that I've sparked one up, I think I'm pretty ready to go. I had my morning coffee, my morning joe, some good bud, some good food laid out in front of me. And so we're going to let this sear for a little bit. And you guys probably wonder, what's Lord Rick been up to? Well, as you guys know, a year ago, a little over a year ago, I went to Hawaii. Went out adventuring, went to ghost towns in Hawaii, snorkeling with the aquatic life. Spent time on the Big Island, had a little cottage in the woods right along the black volcanic cliffs of the ocean. It was great. It was great. Went out to Hawaii, come back. I was renting a house at the time, and the owner's like, you got to get out, man. The guy was greedy. Ended up selling his house for triple what it's worth. He lives in some like 1-bedroom house and sold the thing for like $400,000 because there's a housing crisis here where I live. And houses have tripled in the last year. There's no housing available because they didn't build houses for the last decade out here. So now they're scrambling to try to build houses, but who can afford a brand new house for $700,000? And so, I was stupid because when I moved here 7 years ago, I should have bought a farm. Because you had 20 acres, 15 acres, 10-acre farms, with a nice big house for a couple $100,000. Now, when you look at a farm, you could get like a 1,500 square foot home with a couple acres and it's still going to cost you $500,000. Who can afford that? And so I ended up getting pushed out, and I spent the whole summer homeless. Didn't do no cooking shows. It was funny because when I got back from Hawaii, I was like, I'm going to do a cooking show for everybody. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to make you guys something really cool that you can whip up. And it never transpired. I ended up living in hotels, man. I mean, I had crackheads looking at me through the window and prostitutes and shit. I was like on my PC in my hotel room every day, because there's nothing else really to do. I brought my computer and stuff, but can you imagine trying to host a cooking show in Motel 6 when all they give you is this dinky little fridge, and a little bathroom sink? So no, it didn't. It's like finally I'm at the point in my life where things are on track again. We're doing paranormal investigations. We're doing urban explorations. We're going out of town taking trips. I've started up my radio show again, kind of. And then, of course, we have this brilliant cooking show today, which is going to bring you guys some alien lime kiln pork roast. So why don't we go ahead, why don't we flip this? We're going to want to flip this a couple times. Be careful because this is oil, it is hot, but we want to make sure that we sear both sides. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to have to be, if you look, a nice brown. Just a nice brown. You don't want to burn it. You just want to kind of brown it. And so we're going to go ahead and throw a little more salt and pepper on this. You can throw some over the shoulder for good luck if you want. Just a little more pepper. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a nice marinade, okay? And the whole point is that the marinade is going to go in the crock pot. Okay, the crock pot's warming up right now. You do not want to cook this on high. Put it on low. My setting has warm, low, and high. And I have two different crock pots. I have a crock pot that even on low cooks on high, and on high it's just amazingly, I mean, it's fast cooking. And you don't want to fast cook it, but there's different types of crock pots, so be careful. Put it on low. If I put it on low in here, it'll be good for 8 hours. You will not have to touch it, because this is a mediocre crock pot, meaning that it doesn't have a lot of voltage or wattage. That way it can take its time slow cooking the pork. Because I don't like to speed, when I slow cook, I don't want to take it out in 3-4 hours. And I have crock pots you can cook things in 3 hours, you know. But this here is my tedious slow cooker, because it'll be working all day at low to cook the meat. And probably about the last hour before it's time to serve the alien lime kiln pork roast, I'll probably just switch it to about a warm. Because it'll stay, when you have the lid on, it'll stay hot. Even if you turn it on warm, it'll retain the heat. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you guys. Okay, we're going to start off with seasonings, okay? Garlic salt. Just throw some garlic salt in there. It's for flavor. It's garlic, you know? Garlic powder. I use lots of garlic. As a matter of fact, the reason why I use a lot of garlic is because garlic can prevent a lot of different types of cancers. It also will help you deal with sickness such as colds and the flu. You got to keep in mind what you put in your body is how you're going to live. You know, you put a lot of ho-hos in your body, you're not going to be playing football. I play for a football team, I'm a quarterback, and I have to make sure that I don't overeat or eat a lot of junk food. I have to stay in somewhat good shape. Even to be able to hike and look for Bigfoot, you know, what good is it if I can only go a quarter mile in the woods? I have to be able to hike 5, 6, 7 miles back. So we're going to want to put a lot of healthy seasonings. We want to make sure we're healthy, we're living, we're surviving, all that good stuff. Onion powder. Onion powder is crucial in steak and everything. Because onions just make everything more flavorful. And that is the truth. Okay? So always use onion powder. I don't care if it's steak or whatever. We're going to take a little bit of crushed red pepper. Okay, you can see. Psst, that's the brand. And we're going to take a little bit here. We're going to put it on in. Okay, I'm not saying you have to put a lot. I like crushed red pepper better than I like regular pepper. I don't know what it is, but it's just a preference. Now we're going to put some regular pepper. Not too much, because both sides are seared and they do have salt and pepper. Okay, so now we got some of the seasonings on in here. Okay? We have lime juice. It's very important you understand that this is, you can use any type of citrus you want. You could use orange juice, you could use lemon juice, you could use lime juice. Today we're going with a lime type of marinade. Therefore it's going to have fresh lime, it's going to have lime juice. You don't have to get the lime juice. But let me tell you something. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to deal with the juice if you don't want to squeeze if you don't want to squeeze your own limes. So I'm going to put about a half of this in here. This is I put about a half a cup. Okay? We're going to want to put a little more than half a cup. This is about a cup of lime juice. I bought this at the store, and it's just pure ultimate lime juice. But put about a half of this in here, or whatever you think you need to make sure you cover the meat. So we got lime juice on in there. Okay, you want to put you can put a little salt, but like I say, there's salt already on this, so your goiter doesn't, so you don't get any thyroid problems. You know, it's always good to use a little iodized salt, but you can use Himalayan salt, sea salt, whatever you want to use. And in this case, I'm just using a little bit of iodized salt. Not a lot, though. Like I say, some people can't handle a lot of salt, and it's probably not wise you use too much. Apple cider vinegar, this will break down the meat. In other words, this is pork. We want to break it down. We don't want to have a shoe leather type of meat. When we pull steak, lemon broil, chicken, pork, anything out of the slow cooker, you want it to melt in your mouth. You want it to fall apart. If you cut it and it's hard and it's tough to cut through, it's probably because you didn't use this. Use a little. You don't want to use a lot because you don't want your meat tasting too strong with the vinegar. But use a little bit to break down the meat. Just a little. And plus it'll act also as a marinade so it doesn't go dry while it's cooking. Because if your marinade goes dry, let's say you're cooking something and you don't use enough to cover your meats in here, it's going to be so dry when you pull it out. You're not going to have anything moist. You want moist meat. Okay, so what we're going to do next, we're going to throw in some garlic. Okay, this is fresh garlic. Now I'm one of these people that I don't measure how much garlic I need. Okay, you could put 2 cloves in here. I'd say 2 cloves, but I don't who's measuring? Rather than put a couple cloves, I just throw in what I think is right. When you cook in the kitchen as long as I have, you'll learn that you can estimate a cup without even measuring. Of course, I did bring the measuring cup because I'm gonna measure out. There's a couple things we should probably measure out, like the soy sauce, because we don't want to use a lot, and the Worcester sauce. But we're gonna take. We got a spoonful of garlic. I'm gonna throw about 3 big spoons of this in. Kiss me. I'm Italian. So I just put the garlic in. I also forgot to mention we're going to add honey in this and brown sugar today. I didn't even name those ingredients off earlier, so I apologize. But I have about 20 different things here. But we got the brown sugar. We have honey. Okay, and we'll measure those out because we got to be a little more precise with that. But what we're going to do is we're going to flip this again. This will be the last time we flip it probably. Like I said, each side you want to go a couple times. Just to make sure you get it kind of brown. It's going to be so delicious. It's already starting to look delicious, believe it or not. Okay, so we take a nice spoon here because we're going to want to mix this marinade as thorough as possible. And it's not done yet. We're only at the halfway point with the marinade. But you can see what we got so far. I don't want to just kind of... It'll kind of look odd because it'll look like a creamy yellowish color with a bunch of... You'll see the red peppers floating in there, and you'll see the seasonings and the garlic. And that's just the beginning of it. Now we're going to get into more of the intense type of stuff with the limes and the ginger and all that jazz. Got some soy sauce here. I'm going to pour 1 cup of soy sauce. I usually get soy sauce that's light. This is light and healthy, so healthier soy sauce. You want to use regular soy sauce, you can. But again, I'm trying to keep this meal healthy. We have Worcester sauce. Okay? I'd say no more than 2 tablespoons. This here is a giant spoon. So we can put about that amount will work. Because remember, I'm going to be making a glaze with this as well. We don't make the glaze till tonight. Right now, this is what, this marinade is what the pork has to cook in. Later on tonight, we'll use what's in the crock pot and we'll make a glaze. And I'll teach you how to do that. It's real simple. You don't have to do it. You can eat it as is. But I prefer to tweak things and do things a certain way to make it more flavorful. Because you don't want to waste. The thing is, a lot of times when you get pork and you make chicken and you make steak, you pull the meat out of the crock pot and you leave all the marinade and the juices you cooked it in, which could be used for gravies, or you could take a capina full soup ladle and you could just douse your pork or your meat in those juices if you want. But what we're going to do next, I'm going to use a half a cup of honey. Okay? Sweet as honey. And I call this alien lime kiln pork roast for those that are just tuning in just now. And you're going to figure out why we call it that. Maybe I call it that because it is out of this world. When you eat this, you're going to be like, let's go to the store and let's buy a couple more pork roasts. You're going to want to eat this thing 2 or 3 times in 1 week. That's how good it is. And if it's just you by yourself and you make a nice roast, this could last you a few days. I know some of my friends are bachelors. They live on their own here locally. I got a bunch of buddies, and they like to cook a meal and have it last a few days, cook a nice sized meal. And this is a good sized meal, especially if you're by yourself. You could cook a roast and you could have it for lunch the next couple days at work or whatever. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to pour the honey in. Honey's getting really ridiculous. A small jar of honey costs $5 at the store. Sometimes I can go to farms out here in Nevada and get fresh honey. We'll do about a cup. That's where your money or your expenses really run in, is with the honey. Because like I say, honey's just extremely expensive. But if you want good flavor, honey's a natural antibiotic. It's good for you to eat. It's wonderful to use in marinades. One day I made these chicken breasts, and I marinated them in honey. Real honey, pure honey, not fake shit. When I pulled out the chicken breast, the taste was just unbelievable. It was just sweet honey chicken. And so one of these days I'll teach you guys how to make honey chicken as well. I mean, we're just getting started. My show is far from done. It's just that it's taken me almost a year to recover my situation. I was homeless all summer. I've almost been in this new kitchen for a year. I've been using it and getting adjusted to it. And now that we got the kitchen all nice and all decorated and everything's where it's supposed to be, I can continue to resume some occasional cooking shows for you guys. So we're going to want to stir this because the honey's really thick. Like as I'm stirring it, I can feel it right now. I'm like, it's just very thick. And so you want to get it into a fine liquid so that way the marinade is spread throughout the meat. Another thing we're going to want to do here, you're going to want to take a knife. Keep in mind, this is alien lime kiln chicken. You can do these things. Poke a bunch of holes in it. Do you know why you do that? Because you want to infuse the marinade into the meat. So you just take a knife and you stab the fucking shit out of it. Like, Michael Myers. You know what I mean? Go all Michael Myers on it. There we go. So about 2 times on each side you're going to sear it. Turn it on warm until your marinade's ready. That way you can sear it and prep the marinade. I'm just shooting the shit, It's been a crazy couple months. I was up in a place called Barbersville this past weekend. It's a ghost town of Dunglen, Barbersville, the Humboldt City. You have the Humboldt Range to your right, and then you have the beautiful Eastern Mountains, which are not as high in altitude, but they're still a very prestigious mountain range covered in forest with a mix of high desert. Well, last year ago, Barbersville burnt down. So the first time I went, I was shocked. It was like in the evening, everything was burnt down. There was just foundations and shit. But Barbersville had burned down. So we came back out there and we found a few more foundations our second time out in the expanse. And off-roading, we found a couple ruins and things like that. And I'm like, I got to come out one last time. And our last trip, I found 3 sets of ruins just outside of Barbersville. A lot of people don't know where they exist. But we hiked over the mountain range, no trails, nothing. And I come down in this canyon, this really steep canyon, and I hike over 2 ridges. Bam, bam, 2 canyons over. And I come out to this orchard, this big green meadow, and I continue to, I follow it down into the woods, and I find ruins of a miner's cabin made out of stone. I go further up, I find more ruins. A grand fireplace and a big cabin. And behind that was a mine that went like a mile underground, man, and the place was collapsed. It was held up by wood stopes that were rotten, and the pieces of the ceiling were coming down. It was just intense, man. And we thought we heard something ghostly in the mine. And so there's always an adventure to be had. But we went off-roading. The cattle run free over there. It's a free roaming range. And so you can be riding down the road, and all of a sudden you got a herd of cattle on the road, and they don't want to move. And then I got to get out and be like, shoo, 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 because as soon as they see my fat ass coming at them, the whole herd just gone. But you got to lock gates behind you, and to even get to the ghost town, you got to open a gate, tie a gate back up, and it's all up on the edge of these ravines, and the truck tips sideways. You're looking down the ravine. It's really intense. But we went back there, we took some more roads, and found out that every part of the town was hit, minus one structure made out of wood. And all the fire around that just burned everything else down. It's really weird. But we were out there, there was a giant dam with a hole in it. Can you imagine? The dam's above town, it's got a hole in it. But back in the day, if that burst, probably just wiped out most of the town, and people probably were just getting carried down the wash. Just, the Wild West is a tragic place. And people don't really realize how tragic it is. But these kind of things do happen. So we're going to take brown sugar, but I just got back, and I'm such an adamant investigator. Because that day I hiked 7 miles through a big open desert expanse over a mountain range in 3 different canyons, all on foot. And we found 3 sets of minor ruins and a mine. And so the trip was really awesome. So I just want people to know we're still doing what we're supposed to be doing here in the Wild West, which is exploring adventure and truth, exposing truth. And if a place is haunted or has aliens or Bigfoot, we're going to definitely find it. If not, I'm going to tell you there ain't shit here. And it could just be a matter of the right time and place, like with some of my Bigfoot and UFO sightings over the years. Because I've been a paranormal investigator for decades now. And that kind of makes me sound old. But I know my shit and I know what I'm doing. And you get all these people who start up their own paranormal group as a hobby, and they think that, they get one piece of dust and they got the world by the balls, and they don't even have a clue of what it's like to be standing like this and have a UFO over you. Or to have Bigfoot in the woods throwing rocks at you, chasing you, and you're trying to hightail because this thing's going to either eat you, or you're going to become one of the missing, like David Pelotti's book, Missing 411. So the work we do sometimes can be really intense, and I don't involve my family in a lot of my projects. And sometimes I just bring out a friend or two, and but we keep things pretty much on the down low, and we put everything on our site. And this last couple weeks, now I'm putting brown sugar in. I'm not going to put a lot in, just a little bit, because it helps make the glaze. It also adds to the flavor. Honey and brown sugar always go good together. But this past couple of weeks, I've been adding all my expeditions from Santa Cruz. And we did the Henry Cowell Roaring Railroad and Redwood Trees Grove, the Felton Covered Bridge, which is like headless horseman type of shit, Natural Arches Beach, which is, at one time there used to be a hotel and all sorts of stuff back in the 1800s, a plantation, and they had it was a Spanish ranch in the 1700s and the 1800s. When the Spanish and the Mexican explorers came to the California coast, they gave out land grants. So we did Natural Arches, which has there's a butterfly area. It has more monarchs there than anywhere else on the West Coast, certain times a year as they get ready to migrate northeast. So I added the brown sugar in. Okay, it's stirring, it's not thick anymore, so that's good. And I'm going to go ahead and take a plate and I'm going to cut up some ginger here, some ginger root. And I also added Evergreen Cemetery the other day and the Court of Mysteries. The Court of Mysteries is this little, it's this estate, it was a temple back before World War II. This man by the name of Kitchen built it with his brother. And it's all aligned with the moon mainly, and the stars in the solar system. And when everything lines up, that's a telltale sign that the apocalypse is near. I mean, this guy was heavily into metaphysics and theology and a lot of practices around India, religious practices. So he had a lot of strange beliefs, and he just kept building and building and building onto his temple. And he also had his anti-submarine listening device, because during the war, World War II, Japanese subs and German shoves were off the coast of Santa Cruz, and then one day the military came to his house, took it away, because I guess it was interfering in their subs too and their ships. But he may have saved a lot of lives in Santa Cruz. Disappeared for a while, continued to build his temple, and then vanished without a trace, and turns up dead at the Warren State Mental Hospital, a mental hospital I used to go walk the grounds of in Warren, Pennsylvania when I used to live back east. It's a beautiful, haunted place. But there's a lot of strange things, like the Court of Mysteries was strange. I went to the mystery spot. Talk about a lines, man. You got to wait like 4 hours to go stand in this optical illusion. But there's this rare radiation found in the ground, or at least found there, that's so high in concentration it's not found anywhere else in that amount. But the guy's house, he built a cabin and it slipped. And so today it's an optical illusion. So when you're standing, the house is tilted, so when you're standing this way, it looks like you're standing, like leaning forward like all the way, and you're not. It's just an optical illusion. And so I visited that site as well. But anyhow, back on track. This is ginger, okay? What we're going to do, see, you're going to want to slice up some ginger. I'm going to use probably one of these because ginger is really strong and it's going to provide flavoring. When you think about it, this meal is very Chinese-like because you use a lot of ginger and soy sauce when you make marinades for Asian food. And so, yeah, we're going to cut up some ginger. You can grind it up. You can do whatever you want. You can slice it thin. I'm just slicing it thin, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Just nice little thin cuts, because we're going to throw this in the marinade too. This is more for flavor, the ginger root. And of course, it's hard right now, very hard, but when it's had all day to cook in the slow cooker, this stuff will really break down nicely, and it'll flavor some of the meat. And so we really hope, that's what we hope to go for, is the ultimate flavor. We want something so flavorful that when you put it in your mouth and it melts in your mouth, you're like orgasming. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I don't orgasm that way, but some of you might. AngelOfThyNight Radio is an adult show, and only to be filmed in front of a live audience that does not mind satire and dirty humor. You gotta have some dirty humor in everything you do. I can have clean humor too. I'm a comedian, but I think dirty humor is a little bit funner. So, I sliced up a bunch of ginger. It's ginger root. You guys can see, sorry I gotta bend down because I'm close to the camera. Just throw it all in there. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to get too extreme. We just want to throw a little bit of ginger on in there. Because when it starts to break down, it'll start to infuse the meat as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take, you guys probably didn't see this one coming, but I already have pre-chopped up. These are sweet onions, the real bright purple ones. And they're sliced very thin. We're going to throw it all in the marinade. If you got them, you got them. If you don't, you don't. Onions just make things more flavorful. Especially onions have been cooking all day. They break down as well. You'll hardly even see them once this has been cooking for about 4 or 5 hours, they'll kind of cook on into the marinade. You want to stir this all up. We're starting to get a decent marinade here. This is what it's going to look like. It's nice and thick and hearty. Cornstarch that I mentioned earlier, we're not going to use this till later tonight. And I'll show you what you got to use it for. Kobe it! Yeah! I still got it in me. Teenagers. Biggest pain in the ass ever. Admit it. As you guys know, I have a teenage son. Okay? I have a couple teenage sons. I actually raised a stepson who's an adult now. I have another son who's 19, almost 20, and he lives out on his own. And my final kid lives with me, and he's almost 17 years old. And every day there's some kind of drama. Can't trust the kid. Can't trust the kid. You can't trust any teenager. Take my advice. I have whiskey and other booze in my freezer, and the other day he gets in a huge fight making threats and spiting me, And I come along and I leave surveillance equipment and find out he's taking shots from his girlfriend's fucking cleavage, and they're taking shots and running around the house partying and shit. I'm like, oh my God. So if I look great, you probably know why, alright? But yeah, I have my hands full. Teenagers are on like a natural crack. It just like flows through their veins, They're just like crazy. You tell a teenager no, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, I'm going to take your money anyways, bitch. But I have a kid that's a juvenile delinquent, so I've been dealing with a lot of shit, the last fucking few months. That's another reason why I don't host my show or do any cooking videos, because my kid is always around. But my kid decides one night to try to attack me with a hammer. He's chasing me through the house with a hammer. And they had to have him arrested. They threw out the charge and they got him on 2 other things. Just to kind of teach him a lesson, He goes to jail and he says to me, he gets out of jail, he says, that wasn't bad. They gave me all you can drink milk. The thing about milk is, they put so many hormones in it, that even if you're a guy at 10 years old, you better plan on growing some titties, alright? And then if you're an adult like my age, I drink milk, and I get I got like tumors on me. They're not cancerous, but I believe it was caused by milk. They said they're not sure, but it was caused by milk. Anyhow, before I get sidetracked, I was kind of going to show you guys, I got some fresh lime. Okay, these are limes. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut a bunch of lime slices, okay? And I'm going to need a better knife, because obviously the knife that I have is not doing jack shit. I almost sliced my finger off a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that wasn't good. I'm going to also teach you guys another cooking episode if you try to make homemade potatoes julienne. And I've been making it the last couple weeks. It's something new I tried. It comes out perfect. So I'm thinking that I need to teach you guys how to do it. But you want to cut thin slices of lime, throw them in the marinade, okay? Oh yeah, this is much better. Get a good knife, because limes are tough. Now this is going to go good with our lime juice, because we also have limes, and they're fresh. Thing about a lime is, if I cook the lime all day, it'll also break down, and technically, you could probably eat them. We don't want to put a ton of limes. Just a couple limes on in there. Cut both ends off the lime, and the smell is just unbelievable of the fresh lime. That's how you know it's fresh, because when you're cutting through it, it's just like, it's like spring, And it is spring, and we had a hell of a winter. Because the first 3 months of winter, from November, December, January, nothing. Then February and March, we started getting slammed with snow and rain. As much as 1.5 foot of rain here, we're having floods and everything. But this is good, because all that wet weather we had means that This spring coming up is going to start in June, July, August. Will be a great few months to go out and look for Bigfoot. Because when it's real wet, you have seasonal creeks flowing and you have a lot of tracks of all kinds. And I can't always explain every track I find. But I've been hiking in the Sears now for almost 7 years. And the springtime is one of the best times to get Bigfoot tracks. So we have I threw in 2 limes, okay? Just mix it up. The last lime I'm going to spend decorating our allium. This is allium lime kiln pork roast. And you're going to understand why we call it the name we call it. Because with good reason. But we're almost done, okay? We've had time to sear this. We can turn off our oven. Both sides of the pork are brown. As you can see, a nice brown color, not burnt. We don't want it burnt. We're not cooking it now, we're searing it. There's a difference. Then we're going to take you have everything together, onions, lime, the marinade, and we're going to just take it and we're going to pour it all in here. Okay? You may have had some brown sugar and honey settle. Make sure you get it all. Don't waste any, because you're going to need this whole marinade to cook your pork today. And here's the thing. The pork's going to let out juices too, fats, which are going to interact with the marinade. And so it's going to add a nice pork flavor to it all as well. So you want to make sure, sorry about that everybody. So what I've just done is I've poured the entire marinade in here, okay? I showed you guys it, scraped it, cleaned the bowl. It's about 2 inches. It's going to, when you put the roast in, the marinade's going to cover it. Because once you put the roast in, it's going to cause this to rise. It's going to cause the marinade to rise and cover it. So that way the roast is actually cooking in the marinade. Plus you're going to have fat from the juices. You're going to have fat from the juices of the pork. And it's going to, the pork juice is going to seep on into the marinade, so it's going to have a nice pork flavor. Because you know, we're dealing with a very flavorful dish. Also a very healthy dish. But we want everything to taste very good, be very tender. And so there's reasons why we do what we do. But you can't just go, a lot of people just throw meat in the slow cooker and they don't make a marinade. And it's either dry, because what happens is all that heat cooks all the juices up inside the meat. And if you keep it moist, rather, all the juices that are cooking inside the meat will also be infused in the marinade. You get what I'm saying? So it's very important to do it this way. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like once it's finally done step by step. Smoking some of that chronic, baby. So we're going to go ahead and I'll show you what it looks like in the crock pot. And show you guys what it looks like. You got your sweet purple onions with your lime. It's a darker color marinade. When it first came out, it kind of had a honey color to it. It was kind of beige with the red pepper and all the seasonings and the garlic powder and the garlic. And then once you start adding your Worcester sauce and your soy sauce and your brown sugar, and you add the honey and the darker ingredients like the apple cider vinegar, this is what it should look like. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the finishing touches on this. So we got 2 beautiful roasts. I'm going to twist, and you're going to want to twist and turn them to douse them in the marinade, okay? Now the marinade should cover it completely. If it doesn't, you don't have enough marinade, and the shit's going to dry out, and you don't want that. This is going to be an awesome pork roast. And not just any pork roast, but an alien lime kiln pork roast. and you're listening to Good Eats with Lord Rick here at Angel of the Night Radio. Angel of the Night Radio has many outlets. We have many different types of shows. And so you guys kind of get a little bit of everything here when it comes to the Paranormal Ghost Society and Angel of the Night Radio. We don't just deal with orbs and dust, you know what I'm saying? We try to give our viewers who follow our paranormal work and our urban explorations a little fun on the side too. You gotta have fun. It can't be all seriousness, you know. That's why people in the paranormal community are so damn serious, because they all think they're going to get a medal for doing the paranormal, and they're going to make big money, and they're going to get famous, and they're going to get on TV. And, you know, everybody wishes they could be like the guys in Ghost Adventures. You could be a paranormal investigator that gets like laid every single night. But then you got to worry about meeting all these crazy bitches. And I don't know about you, but I've dealt with enough crazy bitches in my time. I had some woman tell me 6 months ago she wants to meet me and wants to have sex with my dog. She didn't even want to have sex with me. She wanted to have sex with my dog. Dude, I like blocked her like on everything, man. The only place I couldn't have fucking blocked her was my phone. She's like, when we gonna have sex with your dog? It's like, you are not touching my dog. You are not touching me. But you know, it's the internet, and people are crazy. Crazier than an alien line pork roast. So our final touches, we got one more final touch, okay? One more. We're going to cut the last of the lime, okay? This has got to be done. You got to cut these very thin, and I'm going to show you why, because of what we're doing, okay? But we're going to cut a couple thin slices. Because this is the final touches. This is good stuff. But these are, you know, you got to think of it as like Area 51, and you got an autopsy going on, and you got a huge vat of formaldehyde, and you just shoving them, you just mixing the fucking formaldehyde and throwing the alien in there. We're like, yeah, we'll just dissect it in a couple years. You know, I don't want to touch that kind of stuff, you know. But that's how you got to kind of think of it. You got to kind of think of it that you're sitting here and you're working at Area 51, and you're putting this alien into a lime kiln. Besides, technically, lime can preserve a lot of different things. Citrus is really good for numerous things. And so this is the part where it gets kind of fun for kids. You know what I'm saying? Kids tend to eat this kind of stuff up when they can sit in the kitchen with their mom and dad and decorate the food a little to make it fun. You know, that's all we're doing here, is we're trying to make it fun for the boys and the girls. And you know, I have some friends that are big kids and they're my age, so hell, if you just want to do this for fun, you can do it for fun. But I gave it some eyes, some ears, a mouth. Put maybe some lime antennas on. Why not, right? Why not? Here in the kitchen, you can make cooking a hassle, or you can make it fun. When I cook, I like to smoke a joint. I like to have a glass of wine. I like to play a little bit of music. In this case today, I'm entertaining you guys while I'm cooking, which makes it all the more worthwhile, because you guys get to see this work of art that's going to be coming out of the slow cooker in about 10 hours from now. So we're going to go ahead, and we gave this alien some antennas. Of course, later when I stir the marinade, it's probably not going to look the same. But for now, it's something fun we can do. And, you know, you have extra pieces of lime, just throw them on in there for flavor. You know, don't waste anything, man. Put everything to use that you can possibly use in the kitchen. You have seasonings, put them to use. Don't let them sit there. You know, try to use a lot of fresh ingredients. Like, for example, you make a roast, you use carrots, use celery, use ginger, use onions, use citrus. Throw it. You can be experimental. You don't have to follow my recipe the way I followed it. This marinade is my own little recipe. I added my own things in, but you can tweak it as much as you want. If there's certain ingredients you don't like, let's say you prefer lemon over lime, use a lemon. Let's say you don't want honey, you just want brown sugar, use the brown sugar. But I can assure you, if you do it exactly how I'm making it today, when this comes out of the slow cooker, you're just going to be like, you're going to be having a food orgasm. That's what I call them. It's like when you eat and you're like, oh, this is so good. You know, when you're at like a restaurant, you see a 400-pound fat woman, and she's like, I'll just have a salad. Yeah, and so will the hippopotamus and the rhinoceros and the elephant. They'll all eat greens too, and they weigh like fucking 20 tons. You know what I'm saying? But I've been at a restaurant recently, and I had this 400-pound woman sitting behind me, and she was like eating fruit, going, oh. I was like, holy shit, man. Some people just get into their food sexually. I don't know, man. I'm not getting into this food sexually, but if I want to be able to perform sexually, I need to eat a good healthy meal, because this will get your testosterone up. You know what I'm saying? The testosterone. But anyhow, I'm going to show you the results now that it's prepped. It's just, I don't have to do nothing for the next 8 hours. When I come back on a radio show, it'll be about 8 to 10 hours from now, and I'm going to teach you how to make a glaze for this, and the asparagus, and then the rice, and then we're going to put it all together. You're going to see the final results. And you're listening to Lord Rick, and we're live in the Silver State. Speaking of the Silver State, did you guys know marijuana was legalized over a year ago? So every day on the news, they have different things going on in regards to marijuana. You know, this dispensary's opening up, this shop's opening up, there's a weed party, there's a lounge, they want to start getting pot lounges, but every time it gets denied. We're not ready, we don't know how to distribute, we don't know how to sell. But on 420, I don't know if you guys are 420 friendly, but on 420 they have a lot of specials. It's a holiday in Nevada, 420. You go down to the dispensary, everything's half off, they're giving you free blunts, they're giving you free marijuana, topical gels, candy, all that shit. It's so fucking awesome. And on 420, you know, I bought a couple ounces of bud. I bought ChemDog 91, Cherry Diesel, I had gotten Romulan grapefruit joints. It was just awesome. A chocolate bar that I can bring to the movies and eat the chocolate bar. You got to be careful because it's like 300 milligrams of THC. If you eat that whole bar, I can guarantee you that this alien lime kiln pork roast will be the last thing you got to worry about, because you will feel like you've had missing time for 3 or 4 days and be like, where the fuck did I go? So they're still trying to figure out how to do marijuana lounges out here and have designated smoking areas. Like Colorado and Oregon and Washington's way ahead. You know, you can smoke on the streets. They have McDonald's. There's a McDonald's where you can go eat a burger and you can sit in the designated section. You can smoke at the park. It's just becoming more mainstream and open-minded. And Nevada just constantly doesn't know what the hell to do with it. Even though it's bringing in millions to billions of dollars of revenue, they don't know what the hell to do with it. And what you need to do is just fully, if it's legalized, it needs to just be at your local liquor store. Or if you go to a coffee shop or coffee lounge, you should be able to order a hemp coffee or a marijuana donut. And you should have that option where you can, you know, show your ID and say, hey, you know, I'm 21 years or older, can I get a marijuana brownie with a cup of coffee? And they need to be able to be less restricted with it. And right now it's so restricted, you can't do it at the park, you can't do it in public. DUI if you drive, even if you're not stoned, because there's different types of marijuana, and some of it does not have any effect on your coordination or your performance. But right now, they're just, you know, it's like us versus them with marijuana. You know, it's like the people want it legalized and to be able to have freedom with it, while certain smaller towns out here and government and police are like, no. But I met some cops recently who love smoking marijuana. I did. I meet all kinds of people doing what I do with the paranormal and urban exploring, and I've met some cops that smoke weed and they love it, and they're like, It just relaxes me after a hard day of busting criminals. I come home and I smoke myself a bowl, and I can't say I blame them. So right now there is pull between the state and the people, because the people want it fully, under less control, and the state's like, we're going to triple tax it. I paid $30 in taxes on medical. I have a medical card. I don't buy it recreational. I buy medical weed. It's the same stuff, but the difference is with the medical card, you don't have to pay the double tax. And I still ended up paying $30 in tax, which means if you are a recreation user, when I pay $30 for taxes on bud, the recreation users are paying $60 in taxes. So the state's making millions of dollars. But at the same time, it's, you only can buy it at dispensaries. There's quite a few of them around here, but you can't get it at your liquor store or your grocery store. You should be able to go in your grocery store like Smith's and buy a pack of joints or buy blunts. It's all packaged. It's all got labels on it because that's the FDA for you. Everything is done with credibility, and so you know what you're getting. It's not like buying bud off the streets where it could have formaldehyde in it per se, and you could choke to death, or it could be laced with something. But right now, the market's just back and forth between the growers, the consumers, and then our government. It's utterly ridiculous. It's like I smoke outdoors, I smoke at the park, I smoke wherever I go. I smoke. It's a tradition for me to smoke wherever I go or whatever I do. I go out to dinner, I smoke before dinner, I smoke after dinner. It's always a tradition. And it reduces my pain pill intake because I have like 20 medical issues, and most of them require different pain pills, and it's not a solution. All it does is hurt my liver and causes me more medical problems than I already started off with between the liver and other problems. So your best way to go is organic, naturally, eat good, smoke hearty, laugh with friends, appreciate family, and just continue to live a life of healthy urban exploration and adventuring. And I guarantee you you're going to live a lot longer if you have that take on life and you carry yourself that way. I sound like I'm your dad or a philosopher, and just think, just think. The wonderful thing about my cooking shows is that you get a little bit of everything. You get a little bit of dirty humor, you get a little action, you get some good eats, you get to learn something new, and you get a little bit of the strange and the paranormal. What more could you want? So this, my friends, is Alien Lime Kiln Pork Roast. And this is what it looks like. We have our little lime kiln aliens. You can see it's nicely browned on the top. And like I say, this is good for your kids. You can chop up some limes and have them decorate the little alien roast, or you can get just one giant roast and decorate it. This is going to cook for about, I'd say, 8 to 10 hours. I got a buddy coming on over. We're going to smoke some of this Skittles, or Z-Kittles bud. I'm getting a couple ounces of it today. It's a beautiful indica for pain, for sleep, for anxiety, PTSD. It's a wonderful medical bud that he grows naturally. It's all natural. It'll definitely benefit me. And he's coming on over. We're going to smoke a couple blunts, maybe play some PS4 or Xbox, just hang out on the deck. And of course, while we're doing that, this baby will be cooking for the next 8 to 10 hours. And so when I get back, see, we're going to keep it on warm. So when I'm done having my fun today, hanging with friends, smoking blunts, I come back here and we can start up Lord Rick's special asparagus and some rice, a nice rice dish. And when this is done, what we'll do is we'll cut it up in slices, pour glaze on over it, and then we'll take those slices, or if it's really tender, it may fall apart. We'll take those pieces, we'll put the pork on top of the rice, and it'll be glazed and beautiful, and it'll be glazed. It'll be an awesome, awesome, good eating dish. You guys now see my final results of what the marinade and the pork roast looks like, and it should look like this prior to cooking it for 8 to 10 hours. In 8 to 10 hours, The limes are going to be very soft. The onions will be very soft. Everything's going to be tender. The meat's going to kind of sink down into the marinade as it cooks a little bit more throughout the day. But we don't want to touch it. You just want to leave it 8 to 10 hours. You can stir it. You don't want to mess with the roast too much, because if you start turning the roast, you can turn it and rotate it. Rotate it every couple hours if you want, but you do not want to start chopping it up, because what will happen is you'll get shredded pork, and then you're going to have is shredded pork for pork sandwiches. We're not making pork sandwiches. We're actually going to slice up this pork when it's done, and we're going to put it on top of a lime rice pilaf, along with maybe we'll put along with a glaze that I'm going to make. And so what's going to happen is we got to let the pork, all the juices cook out, and let the marinade cook for the next 8 to 10 hours. And then what I can do is I can take this and make a lovely glaze. So I'm going to teach you how to make asparagus later, a lovely glaze, and then I'm going to show you the final results of what it looks like on a plate ready for the dinner table. You're in Lord Rick's kitchen, and this is Angel of the Night Radio, Alien Lime Kiln Chicken. And make sure when you get some time, check out our YouTube. YouTube.com/AngelOfThyNight. The same goes for my Facebook or anything that I use. AngelOfThyNight is my alias. And so make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. And check out our website, http://paranormalghostsociety.org, for your gateway into the strange, mysterious, and unknown, even into aliens. And if these aliens come to life in the kiln and they want to get away, we'll be real fast and put them down. Of course, I don't know if I would like to eat one of these pork roasts. Can you imagine you eat one, you shoot one of these things, you're like, let me give it some kick, pow, pow, pow. You shoot right through the crock pot, and then you put it on a plate, and you break a tooth on a bullet. You're like, Just kidding. With all kidding aside, though, let me just say that this is a really healthy meal, whether you're diabetic or eating meat and vegetables is a lot healthier than eating macaroni and powdered macaroni and cheese out of a bag or a box from the store, or something that's processed. This is pure pork, pure beautiful pork roast, and the marinade is really all made with all natural ingredients. Your onion, your honey, your brown sugar, your garlic, your seasonings. And if you really want to get creative, I'm going to do one last thing to this. Okay, and I didn't mention earlier, but I have what's called Italian seasonings, okay? Because basil or oregano and other seasonings only make the marinade taste even more flavorful. But this seasoning has oregano, marjoram, thyme, rosemary, and sage, which is fine. You can also use basil or bay leaf. But it's not going to hurt to use some seasonings in this. Just sprinkle a little. Because you have to remember, you're cooking this 8 to 10 hours, so anything you use is going to retain that flavor for the next 8 to 10 hours. You use Italian seasonings, it's going to infuse itself into the meat. And we poked a lot of holes in the meat because we want the meat to be flavorful within. You don't want to just have flavor on the outside of the meat. You want to be able to cut it down the middle, and that middle piece should have equal flavoring throughout. So with that being said, we don't touch it. Just going to flip over every couple hours. I'll flip the roast over to make sure it's getting cooked thoroughly. And other than that, come tonight, 8 to 10 hours tonight, the only thing left is just the sides and to make the glaze. And we will have ourselves an alien lime kiln pork roast. This is Lord Rick. See you guys in about 8 hours for the second half of this alien lime kiln pork roast special episode. This is Lord Rick. Oh, and one more thing, everybody. This is a really easy cleanup. Okay, because I have one plate Then I have the pan where I seared the pork. And then just our seasonings, which needs to be saved. So it's a really easy cleanup. And when you're done making a pork roast, the only thing you're really going to have to clean is your dinner plate and then, of course, your crock pot. And just in case you hate to clean up in the kitchen, because I don't know about you, but I hate cleaning up in the kitchen. Doing dishes, saving dishes, wiping them down. I just, you know what I mean? It's such a pain in the ass because it's almost like working at a restaurant. Like, you have this lovely meal on the table, but then you got to work while prepping the food. You got to work to save everything and clean everything up so that you can use it later. And then after the meal, you got to go in there and do the dishes, everything else. Otherwise, if you're anything like me, it just won't get done until the next day. You know, I'm like, oh, I just ate a huge dinner. Let me go crash on the couch, hit some PS4 up, or, you know, what I usually like to do. I don't know if you guys do this with your families, but I'll cook a nice meal for my family. And the house that I had moved in about 10 months ago, because I was homeless for a few months, we found this place. It wasn't our dream home, but it's nice. You know, it has a deck, it has a pool. The living room and the den and the kitchen are all one big open space. So what I normally do is I'll sit at the dining table and we'll watch Supernatural or Gotham or Lethal Weapon or The Walking Dead or Fear of the Walking Dead or Lost in Space, whatever. And we'll have a nice meal and we'll sit down and we'll watch the show as a family. And it's just something, you know, meals bring people together. It's a bond. It brings friends and family together. Just sitting down, breaking bread, having a nice meal together is all really anybody could ask for. And I hope someday, I mean, I talk to so many of you and I'm friends with so many of you. Some of you I've known 20 years, but I hope someday all of us have a chance to drink a glass of wine, smoke a little bit of bud, and break some bread together. You know, I believe in good things in life. I believe in peace, love, good fortune, good times, good laughs, good adventures, and great food. Those are my beliefs. And nobody's going to change my mind. And when this bad boy is done, you guys are almost going to feel like you're breaking bread with me. So I'll see you guys in about 8 to 10 hours. This is Lord Rick of AngelOfThyNight Radio, live from the Silver State. That's for the joint. I'm going to need the roll after making this beast of a meal. We're about 5 hours into it. I started it at 9 a.m. It was starting to, the aroma was spreading through the house by 10 a.m. as we were putting the marinade and pork roast on in. And now we're at 3:30. So I expect to eat around 7:30, 8 p.m. tonight. You know, maybe cut up some cantaloupe, some asparagus, and rice. I'm going to give you guys a glaze recipe. I'm going to teach you guys some tricks tonight. We're still not done with the show, but this is about halfway through the cooking process. And I'm going to show you guys what I got. You can see the lime's no longer bright green. It almost looks like lemons now, because most of the juices and nutrients from the lime and juice and so forth seep down into the pork. Okay, there's a reason why I had cooked this for 5 hours. My son's like, he's like, it looks like aliens. He's like, this, because I told him, I said, have a look at my lime alien kiln pork roast. So now you can kind of see what it looks like 5 hours into it. You don't want to leave the lid off too long, just maybe a minute or two, give it some air. You don't want the marinade to evaporate because then your pork will be very dry. And we don't want to make a dry pork. This is a very lushful, tasty, juicy pork roast. We're going to top off the rice with it later on. And later on we'll also have a nice side of flavorful asparagus. I'm going to teach you guys also how to make a glaze, because we're going to want to make a glaze with this as well. And I'm going to show you, my son, he walked up to this, and I said, go ahead and check out the, you know, the lime alien kiln pork roast, or alien lime kiln pork roast, call it whatever you want. But I was like, go ahead, check it out. I said, they'll be staring at you. And he didn't believe me, and then he looks and he says, wait, are there really faces? Did you put faces, Dad? Well, we're about to lose the faces, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it here. We're going to flip it over, because I mean, I want both sides to cook nice. I want both sides to cook nicely. And so we're sitting here about 5, maybe 6 hours into it, and it has a few more hours. So I would say about halfway through the process, you flip it over. Obviously, the roasts shrink. But we still have, it's kind of like a dark sauce or dark marinade once it's all put together. That's because of the brown sugar. But you make sure, you douse it up a little bit. See how steamy, and look how good that looks. And you have all the limes and onions. And you just leave it like that, you know what I'm saying? And let all the nutrients and the limes take hold of the meat, and just as it's cooking and steaming, it'll seep into the meat. Now keep in mind, pork can be fatty. So you're going to have some fat cook into the marinade, which gives it that pork taste, but it's also going to shrink down the pork roast. And that's okay, because what we're going to do is put it later on a plate with some glaze and take a couple thin slices and throw them on top of some very flavorful rice. And so this is meant to be a very healthy yet elegant meal with ingredients you can find laying around the house, just typical ingredients like I showed you today. And so we're going to put the lid back on. This is going to simmer and cook on low for another at least 3 to 4 hours. When I come back next time, we'll be prepping the finale for our show and this lovely, beautiful dish and all the trimmings that are going to go along with it. And of course, by the end of that dinner, I am sure I'm going to have to roll one, because I'll tell you what, the preparations for this feast is it's phenomenal. And it took a couple hours to get this prepped. And now that it's all prepped, it's looking really delicious. I'll be back, everybody, with the grand finale of our alien lime kiln pork roast. So folks, we're at the 9-hour mark. A little less than 9, maybe 8.5. And so we're going to be starting up the asparagus very soon, making the glaze, and of course cooking up the rice. But we're going to give it one last flip to keep it moist. It's nice because you can see, this looks really good. It smells good too. But that's where we're at right now. You definitely want to rotate it every couple hours. Keep the meat saturated in the marinade. And then we're going to use this marinade to make a wonderful glaze to top it all off. This is really an amazing, elegant meal that I'm cooking tonight. And it looks expensive, but it's really not. Slow cooker meals can feed the entire family. They're very flavorful, healthy, and lean. And so we're about to get into the grand finale, and I'll show you the final results. In about 45 minutes, we'll turn the crock pot off, and we'll begin to make our glaze and get this wonderful rice cooked up for you guys to see how it looks sliced, and the color and the texture. And just the aroma. That's one thing about YouTube. You guys can see the video and you can appreciate the food that we're cooking here. But if you only smelt it, if you only got a whiff in the aroma of this pork roast, it is just amazing. And I cannot wait to see the final results when I take a bite to eat. Hey everybody, we're back for the final segment of the show, so that we can complete this masterpiece and you guys can learn how to make a nice glaze along with some very flavorful asparagus and some lime rice. And so we're going to finish up this alien lime kiln pork roast. It smells great. That's the one thing I like about slow cooker foods. When you have it in the slow cooker and you're cooking it all day, the aroma throughout the house it makes you so hungry. It builds up that appetite. So we've had this on for almost 10 hours. I showed you guys 2 clips a few hours apart just to show you that I'm flipping it and stirring it, and you can just kind of see that the pork takes on the same color as the marinade, that's how you know it's done, because it's absorbed everything on into it. One thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to stick a thermometer into the pork and make sure it's 160 degrees. Now, I don't need to do that because I've had this cooking for almost 10 hours on low, which is well above the 160 degree mark, but it takes time for the meat to get 160 degrees when you're slow cooking it. And so this is not a meal that you can make in a matter of an hour or two. So if you're in a hurry, it's not going to work. This is a patience type of roast. To get the best roast, you're going to want to cook it 8 to 10 hours. I have 2 beautiful alien lime roast in this slow cooker. And so you're going to want to slow cook it, because if you spend $20 to make a marinade or use $20 worth of ingredients, A, you got to get it right the first time, but B, you want to make sure that that marinade saturates the entire pork, or it's just, you know, you're just wasting it. But we're going to make a glaze. It's a beautiful evening outside. This is one of these meals, like I say, you could go hiking, go to work, come home, and, you know, I worked a little bit today, so to come home and to have a meal like this is just awesome, because most of the hard work was done making the marinade this morning. And so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to flip it one more time. It smells good. It's going to even taste better. And it didn't dry out. You know, when I was a kid growing up, my mom would make turkeys, and she wouldn't marinate anything, but she'd make turkey steak. It was like shoe leather, you know, and when you took a bite of turkey, you took a bite of steak, you were like, you know, not with my cooking. You know, steaks are not generally tough that I cook, or chicken, everything kind of falls apart whether I make it in the oven or on the stove. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna bake the asparagus. I'm gonna put it on about probably 400. Okay, 400 is a good number. I don't go by any particular set temperatures. I just put it on whatever I think. Not too high, not too low. People might want to put on their asparagus at 475. You're gonna burn it. You want it to cook for a while and get tender and absorb the flavor as well. And so what we have here is we have a pot to make a glaze and a pot to make rice, okay? I have 3 rices. I'm not making homemade rice from scratch. I don't care if people laugh at me, but rice-a-roni really does the trick. You can cook rice-a-roni and top it off with some salmon or some fish, pork, whatever you want, and it's going to taste just as good. This is cilantro lime rice, which is very similar to what I'm cooking. This is a lime roast. Now, since the store only had 1 of these, because don't you know, they had 100 of these, and then Lord Rick, he goes to the store and he buys a couple of these, and pretty soon it becomes a fad. Everybody wants lime rice. You can top this off with cilantro too. I didn't buy no cilantro. I'm not a huge fan of cilantro. I'm not going to put cilantro on the pork roast, but it's just a suggestion. You like cilantro, slice it up, throw it on top of the roast. But what I did is I got just a rice pilaf along with some cilantro lime rice. Okay, and what we're going to do, we're going to measure out some water, and as you guys know, I don't go by precise measurements with almost anything, except for if I'm baking a cake or brownies. We made these the most awesomest pot brownies recently. And so we're gonna cook each box requires 2 cups of water. Now you can brown the rice in butter, like throw it in with the butter and everything. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna throw in butter, around 6 cups of water, and then we'll boil the water and we'll throw our rice and flavorings in. But it's going to be more than just that, because what we're going to want to do it's got some water. Put on a 4 or 5, get the water boiling, because we're going to throw some butter on in with some boiling water. You don't have to if you don't want to. You know, make your rice however you want. You could just make white rice, put this pork, cut it up, put it on the rice. You could do that too. But since I'm a flavorful type of guy, and since I like a lot of flavoring, you know, a little butter, a little seasonings is not going to hurt if you want to get creative. Rice is one of the more healthier dishes you're going to eat. That's why the Chinese and the Japanese, they live on forever, because technically between vegetables and rice, it's a lot more healthy than Oreo cookies for dinner, you know what I'm saying, or potato chips. And so a little bit of rice, vegetables, or just rice and meat probably is going to go a long ways. We had a really bad flu season. We had a really bad flu season this year. People died. Adults, kids died. There was a lot of deaths in Nevada. And so I kind of pride myself on eating healthy, because I can, you know, by eating healthy, you build yourself a good immune system. You build good white and red blood cells and strong bones. And also your blood flows better, so you know you're not a heart risk or a stroke risk. And I've had family members die from cancer and strokes and all these things, and it makes me look back and just think, you know, about what I eat. What you put in your body is the output you get out. You put a lot of shit in your body, you're going to be diabetic by 50, you're going to be fat, and you're going to be, you know, picking up your ass in the wilderness. So, you know, you want to eat good, but we got this rice on 5. We have butter in it. Now watch what I'm going to do here. I grabbed some lime juice because I was saving it. Usually, here's the thing. Usually I just get 2 or 3 of these lime rice packages. But since I had to supplement it with some lime and rice pilaf, we're going to mix the lime, the cilantro lime rice, along with the rice pilaf. 2 great rices we're going to mix. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to enhance the flavor. We're going to put lime juice on in here, because I only have 1 lime rice, or 1 lime packet. So don't be afraid to put a little lime juice. Okay, you don't have to put a lot, just a little bit. And you're going to infuse it into the rice. Now you can just get white rice, buy lime juice, and put your own seasonings in. You can do that too. Italian seasonings. I got the oven on about 400 degrees, getting ready to warm up the... We're going to be baking some asparagus. A little salt. I put a little bit of pepper. A little pepper. Not too much, just a little dab in there. Unless you like things spicy. A little garlic powder. No harm in that, right? Little onion powder. And so we gotta let the water do the rest. Let it boil. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this asparagus cooking. And normally what I would say is you always wash your vegetables off. This is important. I mean, you don't know if there's pesticides, you don't know if there's bacteria. There was an E. coli outbreak with lettuce. People are dying, people are getting sick recently. You gotta be careful. I remember once I got some blueberry Kristoff or Crustache, I don't know how to pronounce it, Kristoff blueberry pancake mix. Didn't get the warning until 3 weeks later that it was full of E. coli. I got really sick. This was like a year ago. So, and you can't do nothing about pancake mix, but what you can do is wash your vegetables off and make sure they are fully cooked, at least most of the time, and get off the pesticides if there are, because people say organic, and I don't always buy that. Now I'm going to put some foil down. If you guys like to keep your pans clean, don't be afraid to put a little foil down onto the pan. guess I should work a little closer so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. So we'll move it on over here. This is our asparagus. There's a nice size cut of asparagus. I mean, there are so many stalks, we're going to have more than enough. Okay, the oven's on 400. degrees, so definitely ready for the asparagus. But always cut, when you buy asparagus, always cut the ends off. They're not tender, and it's not the best part to eat. You can eat it if you want, but the stalks are a lot tougher on the bottom. So what I normally do is I cut them off like this, you see? And I cut the ends off. Those are clean cuts. It's green. You can look and see. If you look, it's very fresh and green, no brown. This is fresh asparagus. We have a lot of farms here in Nevada, so a lot of vegetables are growing locally here. Believe it or not, Nevada is not all desert. A lot of it is, but there's also a lot of valleys and ranch land here. I know there's a lot of people who hate Brussels sprouts and asparagus, and over the years I've learned how to perfect them so that your children will enjoy them as well. I have a friend who's a parent. A lot of times her kid doesn't want to eat vegetables, and it all comes down to flavoring. The better something's flavored, the better chance you're going to have trying to get your child to actually eat vegetables, which is probably more important than all the other shit that they sell at the stores. If there was the apocalypse, I could pretty much survive on trout and berries and be a happy guy. I could actually take the berries and I could cook. I could totally cook the trout over a fire and stuff it with berries. Do you know how good that would be, wild berries? You don't even need seasoning. Seasoning is just a luxury we have in today's society. A lot of times in other countries, even in the medieval times, they didn't use a whole lot of seasoning. You might get lucky and get some salt or some peppercorn. We're going to spray vegetable oil, okay? Vegetable oil, olive oil in a spray can is good. If you spray your food, even I spray my pork chops, it gets crispy on the outer edges and it has a nice taste. I'm not saying use a lot of oil that's going to clog your veins, but you can spray a little to help the asparagus cook. And so we're going to get into some flavoring, and you guys know how I am about seasonings. So start off with onion powder. Just cover the bottom of the tin foil like this. So we just put our onion powder down. How about a little garlic salt? Little garlic powder. Remember, keep in mind, you're doing this for the flavor. Okay, you can... This is crushed red pepper. I'm not pouring it on there. I don't want a lot of spices. Just throw it down like this. Okay? More importantly, salt and pepper is the main ingredient to use when you're seasoning your asparagus. Okay, but we're going to keep it really simple. You're going to throw the asparagus down across, nice and evenly. Okay? You spread it out good enough because you want everything to get doused in the oil. So what it looks like. I'm going to spray more vegetable oil on it. I thought you can do olive oil for better flavoring, but vegetable oil comes out just as good. Same thing. Garlic powder. Onion powder. You know, just these extra seasonings make a big difference. Garlic salt. I mean, when you put these in your mouth and you taste them, I mean, the flavor, it's just, you got to do it. Look, here's some crushed red pepper. You can throw a couple of crushed red peppers on it, not too many. You're the master of your own destiny in the kitchen. And don't be afraid to experiment with different seasonings. Salt. I've had a lot of asparagus in my time, and like I said, I've eaten at people's houses, come over for a house over friends or girlfriends or women or family or whatever, and I know a lot of people try hard to cook, but the fact is, if you don't buy seasonings and you don't have some stock in the kitchen, and when I say stock, I mean apple cider vinegar, brown sugar, honey, all these little extra things, vinegar, Worcester sauce, you know, you can't really make a good homemade dish. A little bit of pepper, not too much. So now we have this pretty much ready to go. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you something. Show you a little secret. Take a cup. Take a tablespoon. Put a couple spoonfuls in here. Make sure you have a spoonful of garlic and say, "Kiss me, I'm Italian." Trust me, gentlemen, you're going to the point of no return. You eat a spoonful of garlic, your girlfriend's not going to want to sleep with you, she's not going to want to have sex with you. Which might suck for you. But on a good note, the garlic will keep you alive another week longer. So have a spoonful of garlic. I believe in herbs and natural remedies. I don't even like shit in my weed. I like pure homegrown weed. Like this beautiful jar of Skittles, spelled Z-K-I-T-T-E-L-S, which is an indica strain. And it was kind of funny because my friends came over today. Buddy from my football team, his buddy that he grows with, and his fiance, you know, and they come on over, and I just got done working. I was hot outside, I had my gun on me. Always when I leave the house, I carry my gun on my side. You know, and it's just one of those things. We live in Nevada, and you should try to make a habit of carrying your gun when you open carry. Not leaving it home, not leaving it in the vehicle. If you're going to go even to a grocery store, carrying it at a restaurant, don't carry it half of the time. If you're going to carry it, carry it. But I had came here, you know, he came over, I was eating my lunch, and I didn't have time to change, you know, or anything like that. I'm thinking, oh shit, I got my gun on me. And, you know, it's the first time he's been at my house. We play football together and hang out at this Reno Sports Dome. But he came on over and dropped off a couple homegrown ounces. And he's like running through my front yard, and he's got the jar, and he's like holding it like a football running. And I didn't even realize I had my gun on. I was entertaining company today, and I'm thinking, you know what? They probably did not notice the gun because we were all so stoned, and you could smell alien lime kiln pork roast cooking throughout the whole house. And nothing says I love you more than a goddamn tasty fucking roast, right? I mean, think about it. You know, you go to grandmother's house, Hansel and Gretel, all they smell is cakes and cookies and baked goods. They don't think grandma's going to throw them in the oven. You come to my house, I could have an AK-47 on my back cooking in the kitchen, and you're not going to even see that AK-47 because you're going to be like, that roast smells good. So, with that being said, you guys know when I cook, I like maybe a glass of wine, maybe a toke. I like to consider myself a classy type of guy. I'm not stuck up, I'm not materialistic, but I like the finer things in life. I like brewed ales at the brewery, you know, unique ales, very unique pot strains. I have fine taste, nice steak dinners. I always have had fine taste. Because like I say, what you put in your mouth is what you put out. You put shit in you, shit's going to come out. So, You got to think about that. A lot of you guys are paranormal investigators, and if you're anything like I do, working with Bigfoot and Sasquatch, that requires a lot of work, and it requires being in good shape and eating right and all those good things. So why are you supposed to Z girls? We're going to go ahead, we're going to pop. I'm going to show you what you do with the garlic. Always wash your hands. But you're going to sprinkle the garlic on just the top. We really want to make this fancy, but we want to make it taste good too. And so it's not going to take you a lot of effort, an extra couple minutes just to get some garlic and seasonings. Spruce it up a little bit. We're going to pop this in. I'd say we'll go for about 15 to 20 minutes on 400 degrees. And so now we'll set the timer for about 20 minutes and see how it does. Got a little magic chef. We're going to slow cook our rice. The water's boiling, turn it down to medium, okay? We have I'm making 3 packets of rice. Because the pork, we're gonna put the rice down, we're gonna put a slice of pork on top of the rice. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be really awesome. There's nothing wrong with smothering rice or like making some Yankee pot roast and putting it on mashed potatoes. You can do all that kind of stuff. The next time I cook for you guys, I'm gonna make some homemade potatoes julie, and I'm gonna teach you how to do that too. The whole reason I have the Paranormal Ghost Society, AngelOfThyNight radio, cooking shows, preservation project, we want to educate people. And I want to show you guys many different things while we continue to stick around these last 20 years. And one of them is how to cook and how to eat well in between your paranormal and Bigfoot expeditions. So right now we have our rice cooking. We don't want the rice to be hard, so you may have to, as it's boiling, simmering, it's going to start drying out. You don't want to burn it to the pan. So what you're going to do is when this is almost done, I'll add some water because it's going to get the rice is going to start getting thick. And we don't want nothing too thick. We don't want our food dry. You know, we want moist food, but this is the seasons packet. The packet's of season, and one's a cilantro lime packet. Now, if you noticed, I already put some lime juice in here to kind of give it extra lime flavor, which is obviously important. You guys want it to be flavorful and full of lime, and we're going to stir this. Because we want the rice to be done when the asparagus is done. And get everything done around the same time. Just make sure everything's evenly mixed and is cooking the way it's supposed to be cooking. In between you might have a break for some coffee. Love Dunkin' Donuts, man. I love Dunkin' Donuts coffee. The next step is we're going to take the roast out, okay? Got to take the roast out because we're going to make a glaze coming up. And we have to have the roast out so we're not poking and cutting into it. So we're going to take these beautiful roast out. You can see what they look like. They're nice and brown. Just the same color as the marinade. And of course you guys can see that they shrunk down a lot. We don't want our roast to dry out since I took it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover it on up. Seal it completely so that the foil locks in the steam. We want to keep this warm while we're cooking our trimmings. So I'll go ahead and We'll put this off to the side as soon as I get everything covered in foil.
Crazy. In March, you guys know I like to do a lot of winter expeditions. They produce good Bigfoot evidence. But I went to a place called Kings Canyon. It's on the edge of Carson City. Goes up into the Sears, and hiked with my buddy a few miles. We were hiking through snow up to our knees, and you know, a snow cloud would come in. The canyon would get all blustery with snow, and it would pass by, and it was just an amazing, amazing hike. And I seen some toe impressions. On occasion, you know, I find some toes and some big footprints in the snow. But it reminded me of something my son and I were talking about. A few years ago, we were up on Kings Canyon, an adjacent canyon nearby on the other side of the ridge. We ran into this creature. It's kind of creepy because I was coming down this trail, and there was some trees. And this thing's 10 feet away and peeks around the tree with big-ass glowing eyes taller than I am. And it's tipping its head like this. And I told my son, we need to really move. When you start seeing things you're not supposed to be seeing, you disappear. Self-preservation of these species and cryptids. And we turn our back, we're standing overlooking Carson City like this on a cliff, and this thing runs, and it's like hunched over and just jumps off the cliff. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And you don't even have time to react or get a camera. But you know, I've been a paranormal investigator most of my life, and you know, it's kind of strange because when I met all of you guys, I was in my 20s, mid-20s maybe, we'll say, you know, young 20s, and started this paranormal shebang, started these paranormal adventures, and they just got more extreme and intense. And since then, since you guys have known me, I've had encounters with aliens, UFOs, and Bigfoot. And the sad thing is people don't want to air us on their show. And when you want to air somebody on your show that gets dust particles, and it sucks, or you can hear somebody on your show that has had some physical encounters with these things. And that's what makes you such a good paranormal investigator. It's the fact that you're a survivor, but you also live to see the things that most people never get to see. And I'm trying to get, I get so sidetracked because I love looking for Bigfoot. The spring is the best time of year in the Sears. You have waterfalls, seasonal creeks, snow melting. All the peaks got snow on them, but it's melting. And it causes mud all over the mountains, man, and these canyons and along these creek beds. And I mean, you're sure to have success with Bigfoot. So we're going to be going camping next month, doing a Bigfoot expedition. I have a couple Bigfoot projects we'll be doing in the next month. Except with the exception of Aurora, it's a birthday present. We're going to the ghost town Aurora, Nevada. People were just killed. They'd have gunfights in the streets, shootouts, and they just bury right next to the saloon, just dig a grave. It was such a lawless town, and it was more lawless than Bodie, maybe even cursed, and we're going to go exploring it. Now what we're going to do, okay, we have the limes, the onions. We're going to make a nice gravy. Now I don't know if I can, yeah, I can do it. Watch, see, I'm pouring everything in the crock pot here, right? We don't need this anymore. I'm keeping the roast on a plate warm. We're going to turn this on fairly high, like a 4 or 5 out of 6. Okay, this is the glaze. You can see right now, see how watery it is? We want to thicken that up. You know how you thicken something up? You guys ever make gravies? If you want to make gravy and you have a problem that your gravy's always watery, what you're going to do, you're going to put some cornstarch in it. If you want, you can use flour. I really don't give a fuck. You want to, but then you're going to have that floury type of taste. So we're going to put some cornstarch in here. Now, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend using too much. It doesn't have a lot of taste. But what you do is you put the cornstarch in here to thicken it up. You got to, man, you got to. Only use a little at a time and keep stirring it and see how it thickens up. because we're going to put this glaze onto it when we're done, along with the limes and the onions once we slice it. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to leave this. Everything's going to be cooking for the next 12 to 15 minutes. We're thickening up the glaze. All of it I took from the crock pot. Put cornstarch in here. The rice is almost done. It's looking good. And then we have the asparagus cooking. And what we'll do is we'll put the rice on a plate. We'll take the roast. I'll slice it in slices. And then once the slices are sliced, we'll pour the glaze on top. And then you get your piece of pork and you put it on the rice with a nice side of asparagus. This is a very wholesome meal that we're cooking here. And so I'm going to be back with the last segment of our show. And if you guys really, I don't know if you guys have done it yet. Some of you may have. If you go on Facebook and you type in The Wild and the Wicked, Ghost Towns of the American West, it's a little side bonus of the Paranormal Ghost Society. Since we do a lot of paranormal investigation to ghost towns, we also do a lot of exploration. So the group's dedicated towards those explorations into the Wild West. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I love from anywhere from about November, December, all the way up into March, maybe April, we do a lot of ghost towns. All over California, all over Nevada. And I did the ghost town of National. Oh my God, it was snowstorming. We did that. We did the ghost town of Como, which is high up in the Pine Nuts. That was phenomenal. And then you look at, like along the Yuba River, we were off-roading. I was up on some ravines. The whole road, mudslide, whole road was gone, man. Try turning around in a Suburban on a road this wide up on a cliff, and you have to do a turn. It takes forever to do, and you have to kind of drive up on the cliffside, and I mean, it's just madness. But we do a lot of intense paranormal investigating and Bigfoot searches. Was in a snowstorm in the ghost town of Midas. That's up in the middle, up near Tuscarora. Tuscarora is a really strange place because Tuscarora, oh, it's getting thicker. Tuscarora was a very wealthy silver and gold mining town. Had a lot of Chinamen living there. And when you go there today, there's supposedly 100 people that live in Tuscarora, but you never see one person out. You might see a stray dog, maybe a cat out, but there's a lot of abandoned buildings, and you always feel like people are just like kind of watching you. You know, it's real creepy. But they have an awesome graveyard. And I recently went out there and I off-roaded for hundreds of miles with no civilization. Because once you hit Winnemucca, then you're on a 100-mile dirt road with no services, no gas. And even when you get to Tuscarora, there are no services, but people live there and work in the mines, and some of them choose to live in houses from the 1800s, and they just keep them restored or renovated, while others might live in something that's kind of dilapidated, you know, because some people just like that peace and quiet, and today about 100 people have that peace and quiet. But we did investigations at Tuscarora, National. We got up to close to Cornucopia, and there was a new mining operation, and the road was out. We did National. It was just an intense winter. Humboldt City at the top of Humboldt Canyon. Black Canyon, the town of the Black Canyon Mining Camp. They have all these stone buildings, but you got to hike your off-road and hike your ass off in this steep canyon, and you're just right below Star Peak in the Humboldt Mountains. And in adjacent canyon, Humboldt City. Did St. Mary's, Dun Glen, Barbersville. I'm thinking of all these ghost towns the last few months we've done. Eventually we're going to do Candelaria. And we have a bunch of other cool places I'm going to be bringing you guys. Including Jarbidge, which is a part of Nevada that's very woodsy. A lot of snow-capped peaks, caves, a river gorge. Best fishing in Nevada. Supposedly one of the hottest places in Nevada for Bigfoot. People are getting tracks like that up there right now because of the thaw. A lot of cryptozoology groups out that way. It's up near the Idaho border. So we're going to be doing eventually the Elko area, a lot of ghost towns, the Jarbidge area. I can't wait. We're doing Aurora for my birthday this month. It was a large city, large ghost town, all today abandoned. All the mines, mills, all the stone buildings, it's all abandoned. But it was a lawless, very haunted ghost town. There's a lot of books on the hauntings there, and I'm treating myself to that. One year, for my birthday a couple years ago, I treated myself to a mental asylum, which I snuck in. I knew the risk, but I snuck in anyway. Okay, so this is thickening up. It's a glaze. Although while it's thickening, I'm going to put it on low because we don't want it to boil and burn or anything like that. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to put, if need to be, you can put some more cornstarch in. And at this point, I can clearly see we need more. This is just the glaze. You know, you're not eating it, you're not drinking it. It's just that when you slice the meat, you want some of this glaze to saturate the slices. You don't want to just taste it on the outside. You want some flavor on the inside. So it's getting thicker. You can see it's not as, you know what I mean, it's not dripping like it was. It's a little bit thicker. But we want to let that thicken up. Rice-a-roni, a San Francisco treat. Bet you guys didn't know I provide entertainment while I'm cooking too. Put this aside in case we need more cornstarch. I'm going to go ahead and get the dinner table set and do a little bit of a cleanup because we got about 10 minutes before this is finally done. We want to check on our asparagus, of course. I like it a little crispy on the outside, so if you check the asparagus, drop it down to about 365. And that way now what we're going to do is we're going to let it get crispy. Now what you're going to want to do, spray a little more oil, not much. You don't want to keep everything lushed, oiled, and moist. Keep it lubed, baby, keep it lubed. So we're going to lube, I just lubed up that asparagus. Each stalk is looking lubed and mighty fine. We got our rice, we got our glaze cooking. I'm going to do a brief cleanup and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you guys the final results of this beautiful alien lime kiln pork roast with slow cooked purple sweet onions, cut limes and slices of ginger, all infused together with a very sweet yet tangy type of marinade. It's going to be awesome, guys. It's going to be awesome. You're listening to Lord Rick of AngelOfThyNight Radio. And we're live, straight out of the Silver State. Be right back. Okay, everybody, this is the grand finale and the unveiling. As you can see, it's really, this glaze got thick. It's a glaze. It's not supposed to be like soup. It's supposed to be a little bit thicker. And you're not going to use it all. You're just going to take a couple spoonfuls and just glaze over the pork roast once it's on the, on the plate. But our rice has thickened up. You don't want it so dry you're going to choke, so, keep it moist. Rice-a-roni's done. The only thing left is to pull out the asparagus. I love cooking. It's something nice you can do for your friends and family. I love to cook. I'm one of these guys that do believe that nothing says I love you more than cooking. The one thing is, the problem is when you start cooking for your family, you realize that they like it so much that you become a regular chef. And so I spend maybe half of my days going out to dinner, other half I cook. But when I cook very wholesome. And so this is something that, you can feed your entire family with. Roast is fairly cheap. I don't know, maybe it's not where you're at, but for $6 to $8 you can get a nice size roast, and you can buy some vegetables, and if you already got the seasonings, like I mentioned earlier, you just throw it all together and just pop it on in the slow cooker. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull out the asparagus. Give it a little test. Oh my God. I've died and I've gone to heaven. Amen. Okay, enough of that religious talk. Sometimes I confuse food and religion. I'm not a religious person, but when food is good, you're going to say hallelujah, you know what I mean? And be like, hallelujah, amen, praise Jesus Christ. You just can't help it, you know what I'm saying? Because this food's that good. And so, we're going to start getting ready to prep the plates. And you're going to want to take some asparagus. And I'll show you how it looks, as a matter of fact. It's nice and crispy on the outside. What I call the flowerets on the end. But at the top, it's all nice and crispy. And you can snack on them. They're really tasty. And the seasonings have infused with them, so it makes it very awesome. But everything is done around the same time. We're going to clear this. And throw on the plates some beautiful asparagus. Now keep in mind, folks, you can take cilantro and you can sprinkle it on top of the roast. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a nice spoonful of rice here. This is lime rice. Okay, and it's really awesome when you think about it, that you can use lemon or citrus in your rice, but nothing's stopping you from being creative, right? I'm going to pull out the roast. We got to cut slices into the roast. Thin slices if possible. Now it's starting to fall apart. And I'm not going to be able to slice it because it's just falling apart. But you can see it's becoming shredded. And when I tried to slice it, it just totally fell apart. And the outside's crispy, the inside's moist. And we have our garlic, beautiful garlic asparagus. That's how it should look. Beautiful green, sprinkled with the garlic. And you can even put some cheddar cheese if you want. But I have seasoning and garlic. And then we have our lime rice. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this glaze. See how it's thickened up? Because we added cornstarch to it. Came out of the crock pot. And we're going to pour the glaze on this. And then we're going to take the cuts, the glazed cuts of pork, and we're going to top it off with the rice. Just put it on there, a little bit on there. And what you have is a nice alien lime kiln. This is the kiln. I call this the kiln pork roast. And you know, $6 for a pork roast, a little bit of like $2 for asparagus, couple dollars, 99 cents a box for rice. And then, you know, if you have all the seasonings already at home, like I did, and maybe a little bit of ginger and onion I bought, you know, this is maybe a $15 to $20 meal. It's a little more pricier than some of the more cost-effective meals that I make, but it's more of an elegant, flavorful meal I wanted to share with you guys. And so on with the show. Gonna finish slicing up, try to slice up the pork. It's falling apart. And that's how you want it, and that's how you know it's done. Because if the pork wasn't cooked, it wouldn't fall apart like this. But it's so juicy and it's just falling apart, and that's fine, you know, because we're going to put the glaze on it and it'll stay nice and moist. But we have slices here. And if you don't know if it's good or not, you can try it. My God. This is better than having a foursome with 3 blonde babes. Food is better than sex. You eat food, you eat vegetables in a meal like this, chances are you're not going to get AIDS or any diseases. So it's better to eat. It's safer to eat. Then again, I don't know, with all the hormones and shit they put in food and flavorings and colorings, is really hard to say anymore. So that's why it's better to cook your own meals and home cook and use natural ingredients so you know what you're getting. This is the glaze, okay? We're going to top this off with the glaze. I have not really tried the glaze. I'm going to take a little spoonful real quick because I don't want, if it tasted bad, I won't want it on there. Oh my God. I've never tasted a glaze like that. It's like a cross between like Thai food, and it's sweet, it's tangy. Got a little zing to it too. But we're going to put on the glaze. And I have limes, a lot of limes. I cut up 3 limes in this. We're not going to put too much. I also thought about doing a nice little treat tonight. You see, that's the type of guy I am. I'm a nice guy. And as a nice guy, I like to give a little bit of dessert, show a little bit of love. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm slicing up some melon. You gotta have melon to go on the side. And there you have it. It's as easy as that, folks. What we have is a nice herbal lime rice with the beautiful alien lime kiln pork roast smothered on top with a fresh, flavorful glaze I made out of marinade. Of course, with your cantaloupe and a beautiful asparagus. It's very flavorful, and this is something you and the family can make at home. You can all help on out. It took about 10 hours in the slow cooker, an hour to prep the marinade, and then of course another half hour, maybe to 45 minutes to do the asparagus and the rice and make the glaze. Because you want to slow cook it, you don't want to burn it. You want everything to be moist and flavorful, like I said. And you know, you can throw in some strawberries mixed in with some cantaloupe, or chop up some whatever fruit you want, some apples, whatever for the kids to go on the side if you want to keep this healthy. And you know, I'm hosting this cooking show because we really want to get to 1,000 subscribers. So please tell your friends about this video, share it, subscribe if you happen to see it. We're going to have many more cooking videos in the future. We're far from done. It's good to be back, captaining my own cooking show again. All my friends are like, "You're hosting a cooking show? Where can I see it?" Well, you only can see it on YouTube at AngelOfThyNight. And this is Lord Rick, and we're live in the Silver State. Get one last look. Ooh la la, baby. And this is what your final results will look like. Doesn't that look good, guys? Glazed pork. Oh man, this is an awesome meal. So check us out. Check out our website, www.paranormalghostsociety.org. You can add me on Facebook if I'm not up to the friend limit. Please feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube at Angel of Thy Night. THYNIGHT, Angel of Thy Night. Share this with your friends. It's a great meal. Feel free to tweak the recipe. I guarantee you that you're going to like this meal so much that you'll probably cook it a couple times a week, because pork right now is one of the cheapest things. I go to the grocery store, it costs me $30 for steak. But I could buy pork chops or a pork roast for $6 to $10, sometimes even less than that. I seen a whole pork line for $4 this large. And you can chop up the pork line and you can do the same exact thing. The only difference is that these are alien lime kiln pork roast. And so don't forget, you can tweak it with limes, lemons, oranges, whatever you want to do. It's got a tangy taste. It's almost kind of like an Asian meal tonight. It's semi-Asian, what I made. I'm not Asian, I'm not Japanese, I don't even know how to cook Asian, but it tastes very Asian. It's almost like Chinese food with the pork and the rice. So it's very delicious. Mwah! And I'm definitely going to be rolling a nice big blunt after this dinner tonight, because it's sure to fill me up. And with this Skittles weed that I just recently bought from my friend, yeah, I got a long road ahead.
I'm definitely going to kick back my feet and relax tonight with a beautiful alien lime kiln pork roast. Just want to say peace out. Want to say peace out to all my friends, and we hope you enjoyed this special episode with Meals Made Easy with Lord Rick. And definitely not Meals on Wheels, so you're not getting this out of the back of my truck. But this is Good Eats with Lord Rick Rowe, founder of the Paranormal Ghost Society, news editor, AngelOfThyNight News, paranormal investigator, author, urban explorer, founder of the Paranormal and Ghost Society, and ghost towner and historical preservationist of the wild and the wicked ghost towns of the American West.
You're listening to Lord Rick, aka Angel of Thy Night, live in the Silver State. Bon appetit. Peace. Oh yeah, that is out of this world.